I'm Josh Rosenberg, co-founder and CEO of Day One Agency, and I'm joined by Laurie Lam, Chief Brand Officer at E.L.F. Beauty, and you're listening to the CPG Guys podcast.
Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast, live from the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity, straight from Cannes, France. I'm of course Shri, your co-host, and joining me today is the other co-host, Peter V.S. Bond. When not on the CPG Guys, I'm also CRO and co-founder at Think Blue Consulting, a management advisory firm focused on omnichannel brands and retail transformation. Please do listen to my older daughter's music at www.riaraj.com. That's R-H-E-R-A-J. And my younger daughter, Lara Raj, is a member of the fast-growing global girl group, Cat's Eye. The new hit, Gabriella, is out on all channels. We recently hit episode 500 with Amazon VP of Ads, Stana Elton, released on June 18th. Please do check it out on all podcasting platforms. We appreciate you leaving us a review and rating on the Apple Podcast platform. It informs us how we're doing and if we're having the right conversations on this podcast. The CPG Guys were here all week and recorded several episodes with industry luminaries from CMOs to brand and retail media leadership. Enjoy this episode.
And now on to our guest today. Let's welcome Josh Rosenberg, co-founder and CEO, Day One Agency, and Laurie Lam, Chief Brand Officer at E.L.F. Beauty. You both represent one of the boldest brand agency collaborations in modern beauty, one that's rewriting the rules kind of culture-first marketing, earned-led storytelling. I'll repeat that again. Earned-led storytelling, one that I can't wait to get into more. And authenticity at scale. Those two words, earned and authenticity, are a big deal in the industry. So Josh and Laurie, thank you for joining us at Cannes Live. Welcome to the CPG Guys.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here on the beautiful Riviera.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yes, likewise.
Josh and Laurie will, of course, include your LinkedIn profiles, Day One and E.L.F.'s brand websites and LinkedIn pages for our listeners to access in the digital liner notes of this episode on the go as they listen to the show. So let's get started, and I'll ask both of you this one. And this is a very important one for the industry. Peter and I come with a deep commercial background. I come from the selling side, some of the largest brands in the world. Peter comes from the retail side. We've always felt a brand and an agency must work together based on trust, that the agency can indeed build equity for the brand. And if you flip that to the other side of the fence, the agency must have faith that the CBOs, the marketing VPs, the brand leadership, when they bring ideas to you, it's not just a joke. There are all kinds of pressures.
Never a joke.
Not a joke.
Right.
Good to hear that. So let me ask you both that question. Maybe we'll kick it off with you, Josh.
Okay.
What's the secret sauce behind the brand agency trust between you both?
I think it is the trust and the transparency. And, at Day One, we've been in business for about 11 years now, and we don't have a lot of clients, but we have a certain few clients where we really strongly believe in investing as much in our clients and our partnerships as they invest in us. And I feel like Laurie and the E.L.F. team, since literally Day One, have done just that. And we've iterated and evolved our partnership with each media landscape iteration and change. And we also love to learn from our clients. And I'll let Laurie talk a little bit more about this as well. But at E.L.F., they do something called high performance teamwork and their feedback loop. And that's something that we as agency partners also are able to take advantage of. And I think that keeps us all, it gives us the space to have the authentic and honest conversation so that we can continue to push the work.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off of high performance teamwork, because I think many companies and many brands function on high performance teamwork, and you definitely hear that phrase being used readily. I think you were surprised at how much we live the truth of it. So high performance teamwork is these three principles of mutual accountability, passionate relationships, and of course, healthy conflict, which I think is one that normally gets taken out because people avoid conflict. They don't want to talk about the things that make people uncomfortable. And we actually dive right into it. And HBT is something that is actioned, and that's what took you by surprise. It's actioned right when you see a behavior, a positive one or a negative one, or one that you think that can just use a little bit of, coaching. And you take it and you model that and you give someone the feedback, or you tell them where, I think you can be accountable for this piece, and give people empowerment, ownership. And it's It's a very strong piece, and I am so proud because I know that you just modeled this actually.
For our whole agency.
Yeah.
So we've learned a lot, and I think it makes us better as partners, but it also gives us the forum to be able to address both the good and the bad, but also to keep us honest with each other as both of our teams are frankly growing and as the work is changing. And, for E.L.F, they do everything so quickly. They move at E.L.F speed, and we also move at E.L.F speed and really always have. But, you need those times to take a step back and have those honest conversations and top-to-top meetings in order to continue to move so fast.
The trust culture is what allows us to move fast. It allows us to get the precision of what it is to get better work together.
Well, much like E.L.F, the CPG guys talk about moving at CPG Guys speed. Fortunately, we have no reference point for that, so it can mean anything. We get away with it. Josh and Laurie, welcome to the podcast. We're really glad to have you.
Hey man, it's good to have been one of the first podcasts in the industry.
That is true. That is true.
I will give you roses for that.
Thank you.
500 episodes
tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
Wow.
Wednesday,
That's
500th episode.
Pioneering something is scary, and you guys went for it.
So wait, are we $4.99?
You're like 5 something.
Whatever.
We're a little bit further down. We've got a couple of
507,
We'll play that lotto number.
Yeah, exactly.
Sheree and I had the pleasure of heading down to the Consumer Analyst Group in New York conference this year, where we saw your CEO speak, and the picture he painted about campaigns that push cultural boundaries was fascinating to us. I mean, the collabs that you've done, the kind of work, it's just been remarkable. So, Laurie, I guess my question to you is, how do you stay aligned on risk taking when you're always kind of pushing those boundaries? What is too much? How do you make sure you're getting people to where they need to be without driving them away from your brand equity?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. I think it's first important to recognize how we do it and why we do it this way. We are rooted in disruption, and that's probably what you heard Tarang Amin, our CEO, speak about a lot.
A lot of disruption.
Rooted in disruption. And why are we rooted in disruption? It actually goes back to our origin story. And so many people, you took the time to actually understand our origin story to get us to understand why we operate the way we do. But it started from a place of our father and son duo founder 20 years ago, who started the company they had a dream, which was to democratize access to beauty. And they did that by selling premium quality cosmetics over the internet for $1 in 2004.
Great message.
That is the catalyst, the foundation. I would say it's the origin story of why our company is so rooted in disruption. So when he talks about these amazing campaigns and risk taking and being bold, it doesn't just start overnight. It doesn't just start from a meeting that we have together. It is rooted in every single person who wears E.L.F on their sleeve, their chest, whatever it is however you wear your pride. But it's rooted in that. So I don't think there's any necessary confines in terms of what's too risky for us. I think the goal for us is to always do work that is going to disrupt norms, shape culture, and connect communities. And do it in a way that we don't look back too often. We're always looking forward. How can we create more positive impact? How can we rally our community so they really understand what is it that we care about? And how do we stand behind our name? So E.L.F, for those who don't know, it's eyes, lip, face. And we take that very responsibility. We take it as the responsibility because we are for the every eye, lip, and face. So that means that so much of our work needs to be able to resonate with our community, but also to mirror what they care about, what matters to them. And that work comes through, whether it's our purpose work, whether it's our speed to market campaigns, our incredible collaborations that get our community excited to the point where they will schedule it on their calendars, or they will, and I don't advocate for this, but they will miss class to make sure they make our collabs when they drop. I do not advocate that.
We asked some of our listeners to skip board meetings to hear our podcast. So we're,
they're probably doing it on the side anyway.
I know they probably.
You don't need the disclaimer at the bottom.
They've got the earbud in while they're.
The
in
FCC
meeting.
forces us to have a disclaimer.
Yeah,
We don't have a
exactly.
choice.
Oh, right. There you go.
Anyway, Laurie, so you mentioned community. So I want to hit up two things that are community and not so much community. The Super Bowl, great example. Communities, parties, of course, the big event itself. And then TikTok. You guys do a lot on TikTok. CPG guys here deeply believe that the creator moment at TikTok, especially in communities, is everything. Go forward. So you guys have naturally, therefore, become a magnet for cultural moments. So take a minute to tell us, all of these are also, TikTok is largely trend-based. How do you stay relevant as a large-scale brand now, from a brand that started at $4 in 2004 selling on the internet? How do you stay relevant without chasing trends?
You asked like 7 questions in that.
That's how he does it. He sneaks them in. He sneaks them in.
This is my
You
curse of
tackle
having
it
come
any
from
way
brands.
you want.
Well, first I'll talk about the Super Bowl because I think it's important as to why E.L.F. went into the Super Bowl. That's an important pause there. So when we went into the Super Bowl, we were watching, I don't know for how many of you know, and if you're a sports fan, however you do it, or you're just there for the tailgate, but 50% of the viewers are actually women.
Yeah.
But when you look at the commercials, guys, I mean, they are trying to sell you on insurance.
Cars.
They are trying to sell you on cars, and it's not
Trucks,
like
big trucks.
Big trucks.
How about the pharma
I drive
stuff?
a large
You
car,
love the
but
pharma stuff?
The pharma stuff is great, right? With all the
I see Josh laughing. I gotta ask you. You love the pharma ads in Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it's that kind of ad. But you're 50% of your viewers. So what are you actually? How are you actually talking to me, right? And so I think it was really important for us to go out there and realize that there's 50% of the population that is watching the Super Bowl that is not being spoken to, or not being engaged for that matter. So E.L.F. actually went in with a bang, and we went in. That was our first commercial, our Super Bowl commercial with Jennifer Coolidge, where we wanted to really show the stickiness of our product. So it is our #1 primer. I hope your viewers are not going to go Google this commercial in case they did not see it. But we really wanted to mirror the stickiness of our primer, which helps you adhere and grip your makeup, especially at a day like this when you're out of Cannes. You really need it. And we wanted to take the stickiest star. She was just coming off of White Lotus. And we wanted to take the stickiest sporting event. And we took that and the 3 of them and just put it in this magic pot, but also stirred it together. And we created a catalyst and a constellation of something that was going to put it out there for our community. Again, we did that to delight our community with something that they told us that was the stickiest product on earth. So that was the catalyst for that. These campaigns that have gone from there, from that Super Bowl commercial with Jennifer Coolidge to the following year to our Super Bowl commercial that we went in with a more national reach, and then even to a Super Bowl commercial this year where we intentionally went in to democratize access to our community. We went in with a Super Bowl, not through the regular pathway. We actually democratized access to the game by working with Tubi, by working with partners, by creating our own if you will say, longest live party that we've ever done before, which is on the TikTok, which during Super Bowl, TikTok, Twitch, all the platforms, you name it. We were there for our community to bring the game to them in real time with the fandom, with talking about what do you do to prepare for a game, all the things that our community really cares about. So I'll tackle that and share with you. The Super Bowl was really, I would feel, staying at the heart of culture with a moment where that everyone is really actively engaged.
It's the one time when we still, as a global community, come together and have a common touch point. And what a huge opportunity.
The fandom in itself is something that unites our community as well. So that was something we tapped into in a really big way. But that's one aspect and one facet of how we stay connected to culture. And how to stay culturally relevant is making sure that you're there for your community in those moments that matter.
Well, Shri and I watched the Super Bowl not for the football game because our Giants were mathematically eliminated.
13 years.
They were mathematically eliminated after the first week of the season. So we watched it for the commercials, and we did a podcast. We did a podcast episode that evening.
33 commercials.
33 where we evaluated, and we called out the E.L.F. commercial as being highly culturally relevant to the audience. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I think also just really to build on that too, because I think that's like obviously a monoculture moment. But if you think even just about the recent TikTok conversation that we were all listening to, just even around the lip gloss and the Halo Glow filter, and how quickly we were all able to respond to that. I feel like that's a good example of
that was really
a trend responding to the community and actually working at E.L.F. speed to actually operationalize it and actually get an empty bottle,
Halo Glow
Halo, which
bottle.
is nearly impossible, and then get it out on the shelves or as a giveaway package in less than a week, I believe.
Part of the trend actually was watching the girlies find their ways to clean the Halo Glow bottle.
Wow.
So they cleaned and the reason this bottle is so unique is because it has a really beautiful wand. And so the girlies would clean it out and then painstakingly take all the glosses, different glosses, and that most of them were taking a lot of E.L.F. lip balms and melting lip balms and squeezing it in to make their custom shade. And to your point, we were like seeing it how they were struggling to clean that bottle out, right? And even though that was part of the entertainment factor on TikTok, clearly, it became something where we were like, let's make it easier for them. So we created that Halo Gloss Do-It-Yourself kit, and we I think that took a week's time for us to get that out there, and it sold out in less than 19 hours.
So, Laurie, at the CPG Guys, we like to get behind the scenes, kind of open up the hood and check out the Hemi, right? So we want to know from you, what's the decision process like behind a bold move to launch a music video or showing up in an unexpected platform like Twitch? How does that all come to life?
I'll talk about Twitch a little bit because Twitch is a very unique platform. You know, at the time that E.L.F. went on Twitch, there was about 140 million global users. I think now the number is closer to probably 250. But when we went onto Twitch, we were the first brand to go on there. And while it's a nice bragging right to say we were the first one to pioneer, I think it's more important why we went on there, which was to make sure that we were there with our community where they are and to be authentically with the community having conversations.
So that's kind of like the Super Bowl decision. You were addressing there's an unaddressed audience there.
Completely
and you
unaddressed.
saw that on Twitch.
Yeah. And the team definitely saw that, and our CMO charged us forward with going there. And even the talk about disruption, just to bring back another thread, the disruption of it is we didn't go in with any other name like E.L.F. Cosmetics, or we went in with E.L.F. Yeah. Which for those who don't know, E.L.F. is actually a bomb, if you will. It's another way of doing like an F-bomb.
Yes.
But without cursing. I'll let my CMO tell that story. Why?
E.L.F. language.
Oh my goodness.
There's an E.L.F. vernacular.
We'd love to know more words.
Yes.
You might have to get my CMO on this. Right?
Yes. Corey has them all. She's created the whole vocabulary.
She'll tell you the story behind it.
Sri, do we have any family members who could probably bring us up to speed on some
wonder.
cultural references?
I wonder.
I wonder.
We'll make sure to ask.
There's a ton of E.L.F-isms, like why the E.L.F. not?
Yeah.
It's just a nicer way of saying it, right? Without getting censored, especially on your CPG Guys podcast.
We run a clean podcast. We don't even check off that there's explicit content here. We're good family fun here.
Well, go back to your question on the decision making. What does it look like? It means rapid speed decision making.
Yeah.
It means if we have the why, the who are we going to talk to, and if our community is on there, it really is real-time decision making that happens in a room, and you don't make that committee really large. You just keep a small group, and we have ourselves on multiple chat streams that in the chat we'll say, here's an idea. Like the great example is Oliver in Phoenix, who sailed across the Pacific Ocean. And why we got behind him was because he is a symbol for democratizing access, democratizing access to dreams. And Oliver had a dream when he got in that sailboat from Oregon all the way to Hawaii. And E.L.F. got behind it to drop ship snacks to him, snacks and sunblocks and cat snacks and whatever you have you. But that decision, and we're all watching him on social media and gripped, and we're all, a little bit cautious, like, is he going to be okay? Did he, we tune in to watch him. And we knew there was something there, and our community was also tuning in to see how Oliver and Phoenix were doing. And because E.L.F. cares, and it's like every eye, lip, and face, and by the way, we're double cruelty-free certified. We were like, we've got to make sure that cat's okay. So we dropped the care package.
Wow.
But that took us 5 days. 5 days from the time that we were on a group chat saying, this is just wild. We need to send him something. So how
do we make this? So the focus, how do we make it happen? Not what are the reasons we can't?
Yes, and Patrick O'Keefe, our head of IMC, he found a nonprofit who works with emerging aviators, young aviators that are skillful, obviously, and they tracked down his sailboat and dropped a package to him. And that happened in 5 days, a record time. So,
Sri, it sounds like they're having an elfing good time.
We are having a really great time.
That is E.L.F. speed.
That's E.L.F. speed.
I don't know about them, but we're having an elfing good time.
We're having a good elfing good time today.
Do you have a great time with us?
Always.
All right.
So, Josh, now that you do have a great time with them, I want to come back to this very same question we asked Laurie, and I want to ask you as a trusted advisor. You opened this podcast by saying one of the most important things is trust.
Yes.
And transparency. So for you, what is a decision process behind a bold move like launching a music video or showing up in unexpected places like Twitch? Like, how do you advise Laurie and the E.L.F. brand on navigating different advertising channels?
I think, honestly, it goes right back to listening and to the community, because I think you can get a pulse on what the community and what the conversation is saying and how to best show up. And I think those are our biggest advocates and also our biggest litmus test. I think even just thinking, even most recently we collaborated with Catherine Legg, who E.L.F. sponsored in the Indy 500 last year and then in NASCAR this year. And again, that's another first for E.L.F. and first for the category where there was no beauty sponsor of the Indy 500. until
not know
E.L.F.
that.
came along, and it was just amazing. Like our teams that were on the ground there, the comments they were getting from the community, again, how, whether that was, a father who was saying, oh my God, my daughter loves this product, or even the daughter who was coming up and was so excited to see that Catherine was supported and to see that how E.L.F. showed up. So I think really it is going to the community and really listening.
So I'm very curious to learn, when you chose to do the Indy 500, did you find that a large part of the community does use E.L.F. products? You gave the example of the dad, but was that how it played itself out?
We actually found that a lot of people, the reality today is that we're actually in 1 of 3 households that actually have bought E.L.F., which is an incredible journey if you think about the fact
Congratulations.
Thank you. The fact that this is a 20-year-old brand, and while 20-year might seem really long to some of the startup brands, like when you compare it to the strategic brands that are actually the top 5 brands in mass beauty, they have on average 70 years on us. So actually it makes E.L.F. very young, like a 20-year-old, That's where the bold disruption, the renegade spirit, the speed comes in. But yeah, doing something like that was really just, again, the why behind it was important, right? Why? Because we realized that Catherine Legg was actually the 9th female driver in Indy 500 at the time. Their 108-year history, she was the 9th female driver.
Wow.
And so that is an incredible thing to think about, how you can democratize access to dreams and also put her on a platform that would inspire other young ladies and young drivers to get in the race and to continue and to never give up. And that pursuit of it really does reflect who we stand as a brand, with positivity, inclusivity, and accessibility. We're rooted in that.
And Josh, so I want to ask you that very word that she said, disruptor. Everything is disrupted in real time these days, which means you have to know your consumer real time, how trends are shaping, but as well as what they're talking about, what they like, what they dislike, where they want to go, and entire new subcategories shape up just because of a trend in TikTok, and they become sticky over the course of time. So how are you listening to that E.L.F. consumer in real time to advise Laurie and the rest of the E.L.F. team? And how do those insights shape content, media, product decisions?
I think intently and intensely we're all listening, honestly. And I think it's a combination of our team and Laurie's consumer insights team, honestly. And it is one shared brain in many cases. And, we're thinking about what is the consumer saying, what are the conversations they're in. And the consumer today is so multidimensional, to your point, and is in all these different niche communities. And, we talked about the Super Bowl as being monoculture, but the day in, day out is not the monoculture. It's, oh, E.L.F. sees me, E.L.F. gets me in this conversation, in that conversation, relative to, anything from, any of the different conversations that E.L.F. is in on a daily basis. So while it can seem or sound like a lot, it really is going to where those interest groups are and figuring out the relevant way that only E.L.F. can show up. Because even to Laurie's points, there are so many other brands that can jump on any trend. And I think having that discerning eye and ear for what is something that is uniquely E.L.F., I think is part of the secret sauce. And you guys really know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Shri, I love the parallels. 1 in 3 households has an E.L.F. product, and the CPG guys have 3 households in our listening audience.
There we go.
That is big. This is good. All right. So, Laurie, my next question is about trends. Back to this topic. What's the difference between being a participant kind of riding a trend as it's really taking off versus being a trendsetter, and how do you draw the line? Because we heard a lot of your CEO talk at CAGNY about trend setting in particular. How does that all come to life at E.L.F.?
Yeah, I think it comes back to an earlier point that was made about listening and listening to your community and being so in tune with them that if they were to just pivot a little bit, you know exactly what they're thinking and seeing. And when you're really in tune and listening to what your community wants, you can give them, I wouldn't say, yes, you're setting trends, but you're shaping culture at the same time. And it's almost just giving something that is less than a trend. What does a trend do for someone? It gets them excited. It makes them feel a part of something, but it also makes it feel very culturally relevant for them. I think one thing that we did that I'm extremely proud of, because I think it was rooted in making people feel seen, our community feel seen, was we learned about how Gen Z is not using skincare.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily doing things, and they were actually committing a lot of skin sins. It's true.
Skin sins.
Skin sins. It's a thing.
I like that.
and some of the skin sins, and we said, let's put it out there of our community because they were being responsive in a way. And we said, let's engage us a little further. We put out a little poll on social and we asked people, what kind of skin sins are you committing? The response was...
It was horrifying.
horrifying. I was going to say
I almost don't want to take the question.
Traumatic.
Traumatic.
But it was a great insight for
It was
a global
incredible.
campaign. Yeah.
Incredible.
Where can we find this questionnaire on skin sense?
Well, it was on our social, but
Yes.
if you follow us on social, you will see we
It's back
are
there. We can go to,
consistently
we can
having
dig it out of the
conversations.
archives.
Yeah,
We're going to
we
dig it
can
out
dig
of the
it out.
archives. We're
But-
going to ask our audience, do you commit skin sense?
Please
Yes.
do, and please feed them back to me because then we can work on a
Yeah,
chapter 2 here.
exactly.
But what was unique about it was they were telling us some of the things like they pop pimples. You don't do that. They don't wash their face when they come home at night because they are tired. They don't wear SPF. And so we took all of those really fun insights, and we have a catalog of them, by the way. And we took 3 of them that mirrored our community most, and we actually brought them to life in a campaign with Megan Stalter. It was incredible. We made her a skin influencer.
Yes,
And she was
skin
actually
influencer.
on the side on the ear. She's a devil by your ear telling you, Ray, don't wash your face. You're so tired. Just go to bed. And, don't do these things.
my.
And it was just a twist on it. So when we build something where we see an insight and we're listening and we go there with E.L.F Speed together, we don't just put it out there and it's not your straightforward wash your face. It's actually don't wash your face. This was not sponsored by E.L.F Skin. And it's just the twist that we put towards things.
love
So
that.
that's the thing, that's the wink that I think our community understands so well, and they know what to expect from us. So it's not just delivering on humor, it's delivering on emotional resonance with cultural relevance, with the wit and wink
Yes,
that only we can do together.
I'll tell you, it's working in my household. My wife is an E.L.F user, and if I make mention of the fact that I have a pimple, my 6-year-old daughter will scream out, "Don't pop it!"
Ice it.
Exactly. My wife has taught her very well.
Love that.
So, Josh, I'm going to flip this question to both of you, but I want to start with you first. Reputational risk. I've come from very large brands, PepsiCo, J&J, Revlon, General Mills. Reputational risk was, I want to say, everything. As a result, it curtailed our ability to be bold because we were worried about reputation and we were risk averse is the right word. As an agency, what comes to your mind when I say reputational risk?
I mean, brand safety. I think, I think in today's day and age, there is a lot of, the world is moving so quickly. So I think you got to take a step back and really make sure that you have a strong brand vision. And I think we're fortunate enough. I mean, E.L.F obviously has a very strong brand vision, but they're also super entrepreneurial. So I think, when you're thinking about brand risk, their legal team has a seat at the table for, and they move quickly and they really have been able to figure out a way to operationalize creativity so that it minimizes the reputational risk and they're true to their values. And I think we try to partner with similar clients who are also true to their values, that we truly understand, what is their philosophy? How can they show up every day in social and in creative? Because once you know who you are, it's a lot easier to be able to know what those guardrails are for how you might show up and what is not brand safe, frankly.
So, Laurie, I'm now going to ask you for the secret sauce, but maybe it's not, maybe it is. It really is. So what's the secret sauce then for greenlighting bold ideas, as Josh mentioned, that carry both upside and reputational risk?
Oh, hold on. Let me tackle this way. I think when you're talking about reputational risk, 100% agree with everything you say. For me, reputational risk on a brand like E.L.F, and especially as a chief brand officer, would be doing something that is actually against the grain of our ethos. That to me would be reputational risk, because you're breaking the authenticity and all of the connections that you've made with your community. So the biggest reputational risk for me is going against your ethos and not living by what you have actually set out to do and set out to be different and apart from others, and actually are not afraid to do with your community. If we started pulling back on some of our messages, it would shock our community. They wouldn't know what to expect from us. So I think it's really important for that.
Josh, Laurie and the team at E.L.F depend upon you to execute the creative that they're seeking to achieve these kinds of connection points with consumers. So my question is, how do you build a creative team that understands how to both earn and respect the hyper-aware consumers that we have in today's marketplace?
I mean, honestly, I think it is really about curiosity, and I think that's like the biggest driver of our creative team, because I think you want people that are constantly looking ahead and constantly asking questions, because even to Laurie's point about not looking to the past, like the past is the past. It's like, how do we navigate today and tomorrow? And how do we continue to build and learn together? So I think the curiosity piece is so important to being culturally relevant today and in the future. I mean, it means like learning new tools, right? It means understanding where the conversation is starting, who are the voices of influence. And then it also means, how do I sell in an idea, right? How do I present it? How do I think about like that consumer insight that is going to be on the E.L.F. brand, or, you know, for any of our other clients?
Do you monitor how much time they're doom scrolling and making sure you haven't hit your quota for the day? It's not quite that crazy.
No, not that crazy.
Okay,
no.
good.
And hopefully there's more optimism.
Yes.
Than the doom scroll, because I feel like any of us can sort of scroll on and on and on. But I also think, you know, taking a step away and having outside interests, like we do something at Day One called Outside D1A, where people, you know, we want people to have other, whether it's a side hustle or another passion, like to come and bring their true selves to the agency and to the work. I think that makes, you know, them more interesting, but also it helps us, you know, be able to sort of to connect some of those ideas that, you know, might not just be happening in your scroll.
You know, you bring back our own memory of how the CPG Guys started, because it started as a passion project and now is a full-time media platform.
But not a side hustle anymore?
Well, you know what? We're going to ask Josh and Laurie that. We're going to ask them right before we wrap up the show, not yet. So one of the things I want to hit up to is it's somewhat of a tough question for marketers, but I think it's an important one to address for the industry. Having come from a commercial sales background, CCO for General Mills last role, calling on retail, sales teams often believe that marketing is a lot of fluff. And it's a lot of foo-foo, and what we do here at Cannes is all about being pretentious and winning awards. And a large part of that, my teams would tell me, and the industry tells me, is because of attribution. The world has changed now, where we're truly in full funnel marketing. If you choose to be, it can be 100% of the time. So the question I want to ask you is, what KPIs do you both care about when evaluating campaigns and every single piece of media that you put out in the marketplace, digital, physical, any form? Maybe we can start with you, Laurie.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always the upper funnel versus lower funnel argument that, you know, debate. I'll call it a debate that is had, and I think that you can really do both, right? And I think the way that we look at measurement oftentimes is, yes, it's great to see the converge. It's great to see someone convert, and it's great to see those numbers. But we also look at tracking traffic, right? We also look at how, you know, in that many ways, we look at the eyeballs that this gets. And I think the more important thing that hits at the heart, whether or not we know we have struck a chord or not, is in our community reactions, the engagement, and the sentiment. I think those are factors that you can't necessarily put an ROI on those, because it's important to see that what persists over time is not going to be whether or not someone comes back and repurchases. Yes, great, I'd love to have that in the bag, but it's more important whether or not I have them for the long term, right? Customer lifetime value, important. I'm not saying it's not important, but also being able to see whether or not your brand has hit at their heart to be something more deeply meaningful to them and a representative of what they're trying to say when they carry E.L.F. in their bag. That is what I want to earn. I want to earn that.
And Josh, let me ask you that same questions, right? How do you think about KPIs, measurement? What is success to you?
I mean, I think to Laurie's point about earning, it's about the share, right? And the comment. It's about creating that conversation, striking a chord here, people that actually actively hit the share button or take an action. For me, I think is one of the biggest measures of success, especially when you're thinking about a campaign that you're trying to drive upper funnel and, you know, brand love around or some brand action. Obviously, sales are very important and are a key to all of the things that we do, and that obviously pays for all the great marketing. But I think when you're trying to build a brand and earn the trust of the consumer and, you know, drive advocacy, that share and the comment is the gold.
Laurie, I'm going to set the Super Bowl apart as a very distinct event. But when I look at traditional media, linear television, print, is it still relevant in your media mix, or are you leaning much more into digital, social, and experiential? Like, what's the What's the combination
TV
of
dead?
ingredients?
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I kind of am.
I don't think it's dead. I mean, outside from the Super Bowl, I think it's, you have to kind of think of it this way. I think I approach it very differently with the team as well. We look at it in terms of creating the best content first, right? Based on it, grounded in insight, rooted in the message and rooted in the insight, but also with the emotional resonance and the cultural relevance and the disruption. For me, if I get that first, it then dictates a little bit more of the medium in terms of where it goes. I think for us, there's a lot of respecting the creative integrity of an asset that helps bring your insight to life. And so I'm not answering your question except for saying that what matters to me more is ensuring that I have the right message and the right storytelling out for my brand to reach my community. And after that, the platform then comes decided.
Okay.
It's a little bit backwards, I think, where people are like, I'm going to create a TV spot and this is how it's going to go. We'd rather say it's important for us to make sure the insight gets out to life with the consumer insight in the community and then decide which platform.
And Josh, as an agency, I want to ask you the exact same question, right? Are you guys, when you advise brands, leaning more into, hey, let's go heavy social, digital? Or are you saying, hey, I need to look at the full MMM. This needs to be a very thorough marketing mix model, which should look at many channels. Like, I'd love to hear what's behind that thinking.
Yeah, I think it's really trying to find the consumer where they are, frankly. And I think, especially in 2025, that is harder and harder to do at scale. So I think each go-to-market plan is so customized based on the brand, the timing, who the consumer is, what is the product you're trying to sell at that moment, or what is that brand message. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all, but I think even to Laurie's point, it is about the message and then figuring out where is the medium, that you can actually reach that consumer.
Speaking of channels, what does the next frontier of earned-led storytelling look like for brands?
Ooh, great question. I was going to say creator, but I really think it really is about relationships. And I think that goes to creator as well. But I think it is about building relationships with an audience in an authentic way. I think our earned backgrounds, when we started as a PR agency, we're now a full creative agency and a PR agency. But, earning attention is so different today than it was 11 years when we started because of how the media landscape has evolved. And, everyone is media today, So a podcast, you guys, a podcaster,
media.
you guys are
about that.
You guys have a great audience,
dream.
right? But you have great
Sales wasn't
audiences.
good
You are
enough.
influential, right? So I think for us, it's about thinking about, how do you build relationships in this world where that, is so creator driven? So I think that to me is the future of earned in so many ways.
Yeah.
I'll start with Laurie on this, and I'll ask you to
gets the
add.
fun question of the day.
Yeah, I know it is my favorite, actually.
I can't believe I wrote it as
I
the
know
last one.
you clearly
Error.
didn't
Error.
do the ordering very well, but with so many retailers now becoming publishers, what role does retail media play in your marketing mix today? How are you navigating this world with 100 plus RMNs all looking for you to invest? Is it central? Is it decentralized? Is it collaboration? Are you just focusing on what's the big plan with retail media?
I think even when we look at retail media, it is really one facet of the larger ecosystem. We see that retail media does well for us as well as other outlets. I think for the underarching theme that I feel when I think about retail media and all the different ones that are out there today and all of them screaming, come, let's do this, let's do this. It's really important that when we think about the work that we do, and I mentioned even thinking about whether it's TV or which platform, is being a little bit discerning on terms of what is actually going to be the strongest vehicle to get to our community and letting that be a guiding path so that when we look at retail media, it's a facet of the ecosystem.
Are there
We've
certain
done really
imperatives
well.
that you're looking for? I need to have this level of transparency for measurement.
Transparency,
I need to
I
have
would say.
scale. What are the components that really
I would say
get you excited?
transparency, authenticity are baseline foundation for us. I don't know how you feel about this.
No, agree. I think when it comes to retail media, obviously it's a data play, right? And I think when you think about performance, that it does work in many cases, and it is another channel, as the consumer becomes so disintermediated and they know so much about the consumer shopping habits and that first party data. But I will say, to Laurie's point, it, is one piece of it, but we are seeing it more and more, like especially on a lot of the CPG brands that we work with, like retail media is one of the channels that we're creating custom creative for so that we can reach the audience again where they are.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me remind our listeners, you can find all of our content by simply going to a web browser and typing cpgguys.com as the URL. If you or someone you know has something to contribute to this ongoing discussion on the CPG Guys, drop us a line at contact@cpgguys.com. Again, that email, contact@cpgguys.com, to our audience. Thank you for the clicks, likes, comments, DMs, meeting us at trade shows, coming to our events, recording episodes with us at trade shows like we're doing right now. And of course, our sponsors, we are always grateful for you. The show actually doesn't exist without all of you. I'll ask you to drop us a rating, especially on the Apple Podcast.
What's your favorite number?
I've closed my eyes, it says 5.
5. I like 5 too.
I don't know why. That just comes out. So I'll ask you all to leave us a rating. The rating tells us how we're doing. The review tells us having the right conversations with the right people. You work with us all year. We're grateful to have you as your audience and partners. Thank you to the both of you. Busy show. Thank you for giving us an hour and actually recording this podcast live.
Thank you for having us.
This
was
was
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
That's a wrap of this episode. See you soon on another episode of
The CPG Guys Podcast. Goodbye. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.